My name is Daphne, and today I wanted to tell you guys 10 things that I actually use in the garden that is very inexpensive or can be found around the house for free, that have been very beneficial and helped me in the garden within the last 4 years. I was actually doing a little bit of garden maintenance today while the kiddo was asleep, and I just began to notice how many things I actually use in the garden that would be very beneficial for a new gardener if they had the knowledge of how to use them. And through a collection of different videos I've watched in the past from very experienced gardeners, I've picked up certain tips and tricks, but I just haven't seen a video that has combined all of them into one video. So I wanted to show you guys some of the things that I use that some people may consider garbage um, that actually have helped me out in the garden a lot. So if you're interested, just stay tuned and I'll show you guys the stuff that I use and how I use them, and hopefully they work for you. Also, if you guys have any tricks or tips of stuff that you use in the garden that is just base level household items, leave them in the comments as well, and maybe we can just continue to make updated videos to help new gardeners or experienced gardeners get the most out of what they may actually just be throwing away. So if you are interested, stay tuned. All right, so number one, basically either chopsticks, or you can actually buy these little sticks at the crafts in the craft section of like a Dollar Tree. But I actually use these sticks to actually support young seedlings that may be a little more, that could actually be damaged in the event of really strong winds, or if an animal kind of runs through, or if I walk through and forget I planted them here. So for example, this multi-headed red sunflower is actually currently being supported by a chopstick here, and I just used one of these tomato clamps that I got at the dollar store. Very helpful, by the way. When this one was actually a seedling, I actually attached it to the chopstick, and as you see, it's actually currently outgrowing it. So what I would do is I would actually maybe double these up and just tape two together, or I can just find a long stick at this point and just help support it until the base is stronger and the plant is able to sustain itself on its own without the chopstick. So chopsticks, number one. All right, number two, Soho Cups. I actually use Soho Cups throughout the gardening season to start new plants, and they're very helpful as long as you don't let them get too root bound, but they actually help. They actually do work really, really well. The only thing I would do is just to drill some holes or to cut some holes into the cups. They economical because you can get like a pack of 100 for probably about like $10, $5 to $10. But if you plant your plants out early enough, I don't see any damage in terms of like root development in planting in Soho Cups. And if you do clean them out, you can use them for about 2 to 3 years as long as your plants aren't diseased. All right, number three, toothpicks. All right, so this issue may not be, well, this may not actually be an issue at all for individuals who are more organized in their gardening. I thought I was an organized person, but when it comes to seed planting, I overplant. And then I forget that I planted certain seeds and then replant seeds, or if seeds aren't like very quickly coming up, I'll replant the same seed and I'll have multiple squash coming up in various locations. So what I have been doing, at least what I did this year, was I actually inserted a toothpick where I planted a seed, where I planted a squash seed, specifically squash. It's always squash that get double planted. And yeah, I end up having to like sacrifice one or like whatever. I end up usually having to kill one. And I hate doing that because it's a waste of a seed. So whenever I drop a seed in the ground, even with the okra, at least I've been doing that within the last month. I'll place a toothpick here, and I actually would like to get these color coded so I can determine what type of seeds I planted. Drop a toothpick here, and then I know that there will be a squash coming up, so I won't plant anything within the general proximity of it because I have a really bad habit of doing that. So I have a toothpick here. I have one here, which is great because I actually have a little squash seedling coming up now. I think that maybe even a better idea would actually be to go to the dollar store and pick up some little margarita umbrellas or little like drink umbrellas, and then it's a really cute thing to have in the garden, and it will tell you exactly where you have your plants. Straws may also work with this if you don't want to have anything pointy in the garden in the event that you do have like your kids running around or like pets. But toothpicks, they help me to at least figure out where I planted things so I don't overplant, usually. All right, number four, toilet paper rolls. I actually was collecting these for my son's art teacher just because, you know, baby art classes, they do a lot of things with toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls. But I actually, by mistake, noticed, well, actually what I wanted to do is to have a way to germinate some of my smaller seeds like cucumbers, but not have them be overtaken by like the mulch. I also have a really hard time protecting my cucumbers and my squash because I have some birds in the location that like to decapitate certain seedlings. And so I just wanted to do an experiment to see if I could actually grow or germinate my smaller seedlings like my melons, my cucumbers, the okra, inside of the toilet paper rolls and actually protect them from the pill bugs and the birds and just being overtaken by the mulch. And so far, it looks like it's been very successful. The vast majority of the seedlings have come up, and these are just various assortments of like cucumber plants here. I did actually soak these for 2 days in the house, and when they germinated, I brought them back outside. Just plopped the seedling directly inside of the toilet paper roll, and then just added some soil on the inside of the roll, and just watered it every day. And I have almost, 80% success. Only 2 of these have not yet germinated. That might be 80%. But yeah, this is the most success I've ever had actually germinating very healthy looking cucumber plants. So definitely recommend toilet paper rolls. And you just cut them in half or cut them in thirds. So up next on the list is actually some old blinds that we had in the house. They were starting to crack, and so I actually was about to throw them out. But then I noticed that they're not only are they really decent plastic, but you can sharpen them and just write on them. The marker I use is actually a UV marker that I got on Amazon. And you can use these year after year. I've actually had these for like 2 to 3 years, and they've actually been wonderful. Yeah, you just just cut the blinds up and just sharpen them to a point so you can get them into the soil, and you can use them as plant labels. I mean, you can also use these, which I got them at the dollar store, and they're perfectly fine. But if you're going for free, like I am the vast majority of the time, use your old blinds if you have them in the house. So strawberry containers and blueberry containers if you have them. I germinate a lot of my herbs with this and a lot of my smaller flowers. You just pack it down with some seed starting mix and just lightly press your seeds on top of the soil and spritz it down with water. You'll close the lid, and you want to bottom water these because you don't want to disturb the seeds once they're in here, especially if you're growing seeds like chamomile or like bone set, which are very, very fine. And things grow amazing in these. They actually operate like humidity domes. And I've seen similar items like this sold at like Menards or like at like a dollar store for like $2 to $3. But if you eat like strawberries and if you eat blueberries, save your money and just don't throw out the carton. And you can I only use these for about a season. I don't actually reuse these just because once the seedlings start to grow, you will need to remove the lid just to allow for them to be able to access light. But before that point, they work great. So I've actually gotten at least one good growing season out of these. So definitely save your strawberry and your blueberry containers. All right, so this one I actually learned from James Pidgeoni on his gardening channel, and it's been an amazing thing. And I'll see if I can find a photo of what this tree used to look like, but this is my persimmon tree, and the branches used to stick like directly straight up like this one is now, but very, very close to the stem of the plant. And I was actually wondering if it would actually produce fruit that way because the branches were straight up. It didn't even allow any room for it to branch out and to leaf out. And so what I have been doing is I've actually been placing, well, I did this before the plant had leaves. I do feel like that's important because I don't want to cause any damage to the overall leaf development or stem development. But what you would do is you would literally just insert the branch that you want to correct on the inside of this to some degree. Sometimes you have to flip it, and you would just bend it just enough to where it doesn't snap. Sometimes well, this one has actually been corrected. This was actually, I've had these on there for like a number of weeks. But before it was corrected, and you can actually see where it was bent here. Or you can do it this way, just snap it on. And then in theory, you would just take this, attach it to the base of the tree, and it actually just it pushes the branch down, and it actually hold it if you needed to hold it. But I've had these on for several weeks before this tree leafed out, and it's been amazing to see the difference in this tree. A lot of these have already been corrected. This one is actually corrected, and it will strengthen up as the season progresses. So clothespins to straighten out the limbs on your fruit trees. They're great. All right. Plastic forks is another great thing on the list. I actually have, well, I have a cat, and we have neighborhood cats, and we also have possums and raccoons that kind of like to dig in my garden beds. And they will unintentionally uproot most things that I have in the garden beds, which successfully kills the plant. And after this happened a couple of times, I've actually been using a combination of the plastic forks and essential oils like lime and basically tropical flavors, or tropical scents, to kind of deter them from the beds. And so far, well, this bed was actually covered for a while, but in the other beds I have the forks in, so far I haven't seen a lot of burrowing in the beds. Now I will note that we do see a decline in the burrowing once the plants have reached a certain level of growth. So once they start to take over, I don't see so much burrowing. It's usually ground that isn't covered. So for your seedlings that are still relatively new, I would actually I really do recommend forks, placing forks in certain areas and then putting a cover over them. And it actually really does work. So plastic forks, you can get them at the dollar store, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. All right, so old water bottles, plastic cups, Jello containers, Gatorade bottles. I actually do save some of these just because they work for really great in-place seed germinators. If the weather is nice and you do actually want to germinate some things outdoors inside of your own garden bed, what I would do is I would actually cut off this top part just using like a box cutter, and you literally would just like lay down the seeds, press them in, and then spritz the area really well. And then you do want to take the this part and just dig it into the ground, make sure that it is slightly buried, and just leave it in there. You do want to check maybe every other day and just spritz it to make sure that there's enough water in the area. But typically these things hold a lot of moisture, and I actually have some cinnamon basil growing in right now with the help of an in-place dome, which is literally just a Gatorade bottle. So for germinating more seeds in place, save your water bottles. All right, and last but certainly not least, your brown paper bag, which you can get at any dollar store. Like a bundle of 25 to 30 is like $1. I actually use these to save seeds in and also to dry like smaller bunches of herbs. For example, we do have some calendula going to seed here, and it's not a bad idea for them to drop and just reseed. I don't mind that so early in the year, but what you can also do is just take the entire seed head. So this one's almost done. I think the birds have been eating most of them. But some of these I'll just let drop, and I'll just have a bunch of calendula growing, which is great. Here are some of the seeds here. When they're dry, they turn brown, but right now they're fresh, and that's a wonderful thing. So in most cases, I'll just press them in and just let a new plant grow, and that's perfectly fine. But if I do want to save some seeds for next year, and this one's done, you can tell here, what I would do is I would take the entire head and then just place it directly inside of the brown paper bag. And obviously I would do this with more than just one head in here. And then I would actually label it and I would date it. And then just fold the bag up and set it in a cool, dry location. And within a week or so, you have all of the seeds you would need to have calendula for next year or next season. I do this also with borage seeds, obviously with zinnia seeds. You would just need to make sure that you keep them separate and just write the name and the date on them. And the reason why brown paper bags is so nice is because they actually help to dry the seeds out. So yeah, I've been using this for like 2 to 3 years, this method, and it works wonders. I actually forget about the seeds, and so at the end of the fall I end up having like 20 to 30 different bags worth of seeds, and I'll just take like a night and just sort them out and just put them in little baggies or put them in jars, however I save my seeds or preserve my seeds. But definitely brown paper bags, they work wonders with seed collection. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys have learned something or gotten something out of it, like James Pidgeotto says, but I won't steal that. But I do like that he says that because I do like videos that actually teach me something new, that aren't super long, and can show me instead of just like, instead of me having to read something or just to like, scroll through a 20-minute video. So I hope that you guys have gotten something out of it. I hope that you do leave stuff in the comments just to let me know what you use, or if you have used these things and what your experience has been with using some of these items. And thank you so much for watching, and you have a great day. Peace.